morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football presented by South Point Dodge. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, get your questions in. We got a lot to talk about. But, guys, we're down to double digits in the countdown, so that's good. 99 days away from kickoff. So tell us maybe who's your favorite number 99 ever, and who was the best Longhorn to wear number 99? Bobby, Jerry, I put a couple of options up on the screen here. Any early input on this?
Well, one's got a gold jacket. And Brad Shearer, we were nice enough to hear from him earlier this week, and he talked about how Steve McMichael even made it to the Chicago Bears and ended up in the Hall of Fame a little bit, in part because of Brad Shearer's injury. But I think clearly Steve McMichael, probably the greatest, but Tony DeGreat, a lot of people don't remember him. He was a national award winner. Roy Miller, maybe one of the more unheralded players in the Mac Brown era, in my opinion. Really key contributor, great player, in my opinion. Then Keandre Coburn here of late. And then Jerry, guess what? One of the guys that we think is probably one of the, I don't know, top 2 or 3, maybe 4 freshmen on the Texas team currently wearing number 99. That's Richard Wesley.
Yeah, I want to say that Tony DeGreat stat had a single season record of 123 solo tackles in 1984. I know everybody just ran the ball back then, but we always make a big deal about Casey Hampton having 101 tackles. 123 solo tackles from a defensive tackle position. That's how you win a Lombardi. That's an amazing number. And yes, on this team, 2026 team, Richard Wesley, watched him work out in July before his senior year. Was super impressed with him, his trainer Trey Lewis, what he told me and some others about Richard Wesley. And Richard Wesley's made a strong impression on the Texas defensive staff in his short time at Texas, which includes obviously spring practice. He's got a very bright future. Just got to stay healthy. Got to keep on staying on the track he's on. And Texas couldn't be higher on Richard Wesley. We'll see where his 99 goes long term.
Yeah. I'll be talking about him in a few years. Put him on that graphic in a few years. All right, guys. Well, yesterday was the conclusion of the SEC meetings. And, Bobby, you're back.
I am. I'm no longer in the tourist town that is Destin, Florida. Came back yesterday evening. Actually met a couple of On Texas football fans on the flight back to Austin. Look, my thought process right now, taking in everything that I did over the week, is a little bit of what I said yesterday, and that is that there is growing discord among coaches and athletic directors with the direction not only of college sports. That's been going on for the last 2 or 3 years. I believe there's a level of growing discord with SEC leadership as it relates to this matter, because there's been inaction and evaluation by the SEC and not much true movement. The thing, and I sensed that. And yesterday, at the very close, I was there till the very end of the spring meetings, and Greg Sankey came out and gave his farewell note. I was able to ask him a couple of different questions, and he said, "Look, stay tuned. We didn't vote on anything now, but June, July may be a different story." So it could be a hot off season as it relates to the SEC, and I'm talking about breaking away. I'm talking about this new bill in Congress. Just pay attention. He made a very simple point. In all his time at the SEC, they had always had a committee meeting about changing the bylaws. Some of the bylaws of the SEC, they're always just little nicky-nack things they wanted to do. They didn't even have that meeting. They had much bigger topics than the minutia. And so he said, first time I've ever done this, we didn't have any bylaw meeting. So that means he is hearing his constituency, in my opinion, and the call for him to do something. Now they need to go out and do it. The OU athletic director, the new one from he's a lawyer that was an assistant AD at Illinois. He said yesterday that if it's not federal legislation, the only way out is some version of collective bargaining. That's where he's headed. That is what they're calling Plan B. Plan A has been federal legislation for 5 years. Plan B, according to the OU athletic director, is some level of collective bargaining. So we'll see what all this means. I am not saying that Greg Sankey or the SEC is out of the woods and they're getting ready to come up with something that's just this great grand plan. But I do think something's afoot. I do think that when I wrote that article last week, I guess it was, about breaking away and the call for it a little bit more loudly than I'd ever heard before, I think that is very much going to be on the table in June, July. I think especially if this bill doesn't get some legs.
Right.
So just we'll see where this goes, but a lot of stuff happening in Destin. I do think that Greg Sankey has finally heard enough from his constituency that they're just tired of the status quo. It's too crazy right now. Let's go figure it out.
Yeah. By the way, Kirk Cignetti had some interesting things to say yesterday. Didn't really make headlines, but maybe we'll play that tweet later. Kind of what he said at a function at Indiana yesterday about where it's all headed in the future of college athletics and for the universities, the impact it's going to have on the universities. But I'm very interested to see
what did he say? What did he say, Jerry? I mean, in theory or in part? So, because I did not catch that quote.
He said, I'll bring that up. He says that the current state, comment on the current state of the NIL market. He said that change is needed in the next 12 months to preserve college athletics. And he had a couple other quotes about universities and its impact it's going to have on universities. But he said about 12 months to preserve college athletics as we know it was part of what he said, which it was pretty. There's a Blakey. I'll put the tweet in a text thread. Here you go. This is what Cignetti had to say.
The market is pretty expensive. Scary. So I guess relative to your question, I think players should get paid, but something's going to have to be done in the next 12 to 24 months, or universities aren't going to be able to handle this. College football won't exist the way we're going right now.
Thought that was pretty interesting.
Just spend less money then, Kurt. That would be my look. That's the American way. Just spend less money and it'll still exist. That's that. And he has made a bunch of money for that university. They've got it. They're just apportioning it elsewhere. So I do agree with him, though, that 100%. And I think that listening to some folks like Chris Del Conte on Wednesday at the SEC media scrum that he had, that they all understand that stability is needed in the next 12 to 24 months.
Yes.
So I think that as we look at it, as Chris Del Conte ponders the future, as Steve Sarkisian is just trying to focus on his football team, they all understand the time is nigh. It needs to be done post haste. I don't think this bill does it the right way, unfortunately. They got in there and they mucked it up. They got some things right, some things really right, the agents, the 5 for 5, the international pro players got some things really right. The rest of it is gobbledygook. That's unfortunate, but true. They don't understand. The people that are trying to do this don't actually understand college sports. And the ones that do, guys like Cody Campbell, frankly, he's so biased that he pushes everything in that direction. And so we end up with this kludge of suggestions in a Senate bill. Anyways, that is where I'm at on it. I think we'll see some movement from the SEC in particular this summer.
Yeah, and look, there's been a lot of questions. We'll address some of the tech stuff. I'm going to address Joey McGuire later because I continue to have a real issue with him as a coach right now, as a guy who really likes Joey. But Cody Campbell, it's pretty obvious. He's fighting for Texas Tech's survival, and he's using his power to do it. He knows that if the Big Ten expands and the SEC expands and they break off and do their own thing and Texas Tech is not part of that, they're done in college athletics. They're done in major college athletics. He knows it. He is fighting for Tech's ultimate survival. He's going to do everything he can to make sure Texas Tech is in the Big Ten or the SEC when this next round of expansion happens, because he knows if they're not, they're done in major college athletics. He knows it, and he's fighting for their existence. And I kind of tip my hat for a guy fighting for the school he went to's existence. That's different than the Brendan Sorsby thing, which I think is despicable and ridiculous. But he is fighting for his school's existence and using every piece of power he has to make sure they have a chance to be in the discussion when the expansion happens. But, Bobby, that's what he's doing.
Well, it's still a clown show.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not.
What is the WWE? They're not actually the NFL. They're like the XFL. Remember that? Where "He Hate Me" was on the back of a guy's jersey? That's Texas Tech right now.
Fighting for survival.
Yeah. And what happened to that league?
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Look, I don't think they're actually fighting for their survival. I think that Texas Tech will endure. I think they're trying to be part of any kind of break off or ensure a break off doesn't happen. One of the things I specifically asked Greg Sankey is, are you okay with a bill that says the SEC can never expand? And he's like, yes. And it was at that moment where I literally said, oh my God, this guy is willing to give up that much, because I couldn't. How many times has the SEC expanded? How many times has Texas changed conferences over the last 30 years? And he's willing to sign a bill that might indoctrinate that for the next 50 to 100 years, like the Sports Broadcasting Act. That's how bizarre some of the answers are to me. I couldn't tell you where I'm going to be 10 years from now, but you want me to guarantee you that Texas in the SEC is only going to be 16 teams? That's a hard thing to swallow for me, and to ask of the Big Ten and the SEC. It boxes them in and gives Texas Tech what they think Texas Tech thinks is a leg up. The problem that you have when you box the Golden Goose in, and make no mistake, the SEC and the Big Ten are the Golden Goose or the Golden Geese, and they lay the golden eggs financially. The minute you start doing that to them, your leaders no longer have the ability to necessarily blossom, and a rising tide lifts all ships. One of the things that I've said, everybody is looking at the amount that the SEC and Big Ten are making, okay, and saying, wow, there's this big disparity. We got to change this disparity. What they're also not seeing is the Big 12 has record revenues. The ACC has record revenues. A rising tide lifts all ships. There can still be differences, and the other people can still be better off than they were before. Instead, he wants everybody to be equal at Jump Street, and that's where if you do that the wrong way, which I think they're going about it the completely wrong way because they're listening to some guy out in Lubbock, it's going to kill the golden goose. And that's the problem. You don't start with the least common denominator. You start with figuring out how you better the sport, not how you manage it to where everybody gets a piece and we're all socialists here.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, when I say fight for survival, I mean fight for survival to compete at the highest level. Because, Bobby, what you just said, if the Big Ten expands and the SEC expands and they break away and do their own thing, then what's left of those Power Four teams are going to take a major financial hit. And he knows that at the end of the day. If he's not in those two conferences that end up breaking away and becoming two super conferences, which look what is being said about that, they're trying to stop that. He knows that there are days of competing at the highest level in the biggest sports, in the moneymaker sports, is done if they're not part of the Big Ten or SEC, if those schools ultimately break away in a two-team league. Because you're already going to lose your best remaining schools from the ACC in Big 12. And if they're not part of that group, then they will no longer be able to compete at the highest level. The TV contracts will go down.
I still think that with his money, they could compete. I mean, the money that he's spending right now.
But are you even in the league to compete? That's my point.
I see what you're saying about that, but look, I still think there's going to be rogue schools out there that are going to be good.
Yeah.
That aren't within a two-team power league. So I would actually somewhat disagree with that. Not totally, but to your point, are they even able to win a national championship if they're not in one of those two leagues?
Yeah, they become a basketball school. Realistically,
I think they've got enough money that they're gonna have a say. What that say looks like could be diminished compared to what they want it to be, which is apparently a commercial at every quarter break by Cody Campbell. And that's what happened in college football on ESPN this year, right?
Yeah. And we'll get into it. We'll get into it later in the show, but because we got reads and stuff going on. But Tech loves all this stuff going on right now. It's making them more relevant in their eyes. They love it. It's also, number one, it's distracting from the real issue, and that's good for them.
And that real issue is Brennan Sorsby, to your point.
That's right.
Yep. All right. Hey, I
love all this.
Need to say thank you to our sponsor each and every Friday morning, brought to you by our friends over at South Point Dodge here in Austin. Hey, Longhorn fans, if you've been thinking about upgrading your ride, now's the time. We're talking big price reductions on Ram 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s, plus Jeep Wranglers and Grand Cherokees. And here's the kicker. On Texas football listeners, get 90 days free before your first payment, and South Point Dodge will ship your new ride anywhere you are. More than 600 vehicles in stock, ready to roll, road trips, anywhere you want to go for holiday trips this summer. Check out southpointdodge.com or swing by I-35 in South Austin. Get to the point at South Point Dodge. Thank you very much, South Point Dodge, for sponsoring every Friday morning's Coffee and Football.
All right, guys. Let's see here. I guess we might as well just go ahead and get on into it because we got a super chat here from Juan Garza. He said, and thank you, Juan. Appreciate you as always. It's sad, Bobby and Jerry, that Joey the Mouth McGuire is saying that about Sorsby not being genuine or authentic. But do you think when they talk to recruits, a parent would believe them?
Not in the NIL era changes everything. I think. Look, I'm not going to go on a soapbox rant about this, but y'all know my opinion on this and what Joey said yesterday. Look, I went to Cedar Hill, I don't know, 30, 40 times when he was head coach there. Never heard him talk like that. I kind of think he's embarrassing his profession with what he said yesterday. I think that was really bad. The one thing I've never heard any coach say, it's okay to bet on your own team. It's all right. Still be here. Anybody thinks players haven't been removed on any team or program he's coached for less than that in his coaching career? Raise your hand if you think that's happened. I think that was a joke. And more importantly, it was sad to watch that script being read. And I said that in X post. I thought that was sad to watch that script being read.
You know, an element, some of this has already been discussed, but you know, the element for me that really kind of hit me with Joey McGuire yesterday is beyond all the WWE stuff. Oh, we'll play you, we'll go take away Abilene Christian. We'll do this, we'll do that. He also, within that, said, look, and if we get Texas that first week, I'll expedite Will Hammond's return from an ACL tear. So that already means they know their non-conference schedule is so soft, they don't even have to play their backup quarterback. They're going to go with their third stringer if Sorsby can't get eligible. So I just, that's how weak that schedule is for them. And not surprising. Bob Shipley is going to join us here in a minute. How you doing, Coach?
Wow, I'm still reeling from our podcast last night. Rod, now, Bobby, there was a debate after you got off our live stream last night. Either you or Rod's wife has a kill switch on his mic. And because he kept pulling the Blake, man. I mean, he was muted, and I'm like, somebody is censoring what you're saying, because Rod was in rare form last night. Rod, in essence, was saying that applauding Texas Tech for doing the only thing they can do to be relevant, and that is get the attention away from their quarterback situation.
Yes.
And get clicks and get their name out there in any way possible. And it's turned into a circus. Like Bobby said, it's pro wrestling type, carnival barker type, attention. And Bobby, I appreciated your point. That's true. That take is true. But is that the kind of attention that you want brought to your program, and that is going to make yourself more attractive to possibly getting in the Big Ten or the SEC?
The answer is no. And long term, and Jerry's making the same point here this morning that Rod did, I think, Coach. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that Joey McGuire said yesterday. And Jerry just said, look, I know Joey McGuire probably even better than Jerry. So I don't want you to, not putting you on the line here. But when you go to the mic and say things like you're going to bring a quarterback back earlier from injury if you play a certain team, or you're willing to say he doesn't deserve a full year, but after gambling, what are your thoughts as a former coach? I mean, has it gone to a tipping point where it's just a step too far, in your opinion?
I really like Joey. I appreciate what he's done for thousands of high school kids through his career, but it's just hard for me to stand behind that way of thinking. And it's just, I would think if there's something that we don't know, we would have already heard it by now. I think it is what it is, and continuing to support that. The cardinal sin in all of sports since the beginning of sports is not only gambling, but gambling on your own team. 100%. And there's zero room for negotiation on that. It cannot happen ever without being unpunished. And is to, like I said, unless there's something that I don't know about, which I think we would have heard about it by now.
And Sorsby already admitted it, Coach. He admitted it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he did. So it's not good. I think he's in a situation now where he's in so deep that he has to stay plowing down that road he's already started plowing, and he can't deviate from it now. And he's doing what he thinks is best for his football team, but I don't think it's what's best for college football.
Do you think he's a puppet of Cody Campbell at any level at this point?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But it does sound like that he's bought into it, which I was hoping wasn't.
Yeah.
Wasn't. But I'm sure there's probably a lot of things about me that Joey doesn't like, and that's fine. We all have our opinion. It doesn't affect the lives that he's impacted for, and coaches that he's impacted for so many years. But I just don't see the logic and ethical reasoning behind this, other than win at all cost.
Wow, great line.
Yeah,
great line, Coach. Other than win at all costs. That's a big one, Coach. Look, I was out at SEC Media Days. I was going to ask you this from a coaching perspective as well. Every coach out there that was in front of the media talked about the lack of rules. There are no rules. Just give us stability. And they've been saying that for about a year now, year and a half, like as they got used to NIL and what it is. And the conference commissioner, has been saying, well, we're trying to evaluate and do all this stuff. Okay. I'm sure you've been in a high school football coaches district meeting or something like that, or state meeting where all the coaches were all in a hubbub about one or two things, right? And then the national or regional organization, whatever it may be, so the district or state in your part, didn't move on something and just let it still run out. As a coach, and I'm trying to ask you this kind of from a Sark point of view, as a coach, how do you manage that? And how do you deal with that uncertainty and still know that other people out there are doing things completely differently? I mean, what do you say to that?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. I mean,
were you just upset and just red-faced and left the meeting? I mean,
yeah.
What is that? Basically, you're just so pissed that you just have to move on?
Yeah. I think, again, it comes down to, not being distracted by things you can't control. And even though there's certainly a great deal of frustration, and it's an out of season issue that you can discuss, you can debate, and you can try to lobby for what you think is right. But when it comes down to it, the season's just around the corner. We're 99 days away. You got to start getting dialed in to that. But it is. I'm sure there's an incredible amount of frustration because of the lack of clarity, the lack of vision, the lack of movement for things to be going in the direction that he feels like they need to be going in. And it's not good for college sports. Certainly not good for college football. So, it's something that at some point you just got to put it behind you and focus on your team and focus on controlling what you can control. But you have to have people, in my opinion, behind the scenes working that, on your behalf. So
that's Chris Del Conte and yeah. I have a question. Yeah. One other question I had for you, then I'll let Jerry ask you some things. On Tuesday, when Sark went to the mic, because I haven't spoke to you about this, I talked to Jerry and Rod and some guys, CJ. When Sark went to the mic on Tuesday, you know how many times Arch Manning's name was mentioned by Steve Sarkisian? 0.
Yeah.
0 compared to a year ago when it was every word out of his. I mean, He couldn't even talk about his own team. There was nothing he could other than arch this, arch that, arch this, compared to a year later where there's not as much focus. Now, there could be just as much hype around Arch outside of the media scrum, right? But it's been a tenor change from last year to this year. In your opinion, is that good or bad for Texas?
No, I think it's good. I think it goes back to the Coffee and Football show on Monday morning when you guys were talking about it's, I'm going to throw this out there about an in-state school, and I think it was a brilliant take, and that is, I'm taking the attention away from my quarterback, and I'm going to throw this ball out there and let the dogs chase this ball for a while, and take the heat off of him, because last year it was just too much. I mean, I don't know how any first-year starter could really operate at the level of expectation that everybody had for him, and then of course we didn't know. We had our questions, but we didn't know that our offensive line was going to be in the situation that it was in right out of the box. But I think it's purposeful, and I think it's very wise to not throw gas on the Arch Manning thing, because there's enough bonfires out there about him and the pressure that he'll have, but it's not going to come from inside anymore. It's not going to be that. I mean, I think that was a great take you guys had Monday morning, and I think it's spot on that he's doing everything he can to deflect attention away from Arch, so Arch can just be Arch.
Yeah. Coach, we got a question from the chat, which is much more important than any question I was going to ask. Okay. How is Jordan doing with his recovery, Joshua Reyna asked?
Hey, thanks, Joshua. Appreciate that. He's doing unbelievable. He's doing great. I just can't thank everyone enough for the prayers and for the concerns, but he's a miracle, and I truly believe I witnessed a miracle, and he's not only doing great, he's thriving. He's actually thriving, and he's a new man. I mean, he's always been a great man. We know that, but I mean, he is always been a great dad. But the take from it in his mind is that I'll never take a day for granted again, because you wake up one morning and you're not promised even to make it through the day. And so it's a lesson for all of us, I think, to just be in the moment and be thankful. And I tell you, there's a little bit of survivor guilt there on all our family's part, because why did Jordan survive? And others with innocent child with cancer didn't survive. It's just, and in my opinion, it's just faith and trust in God. You don't know all the answers, but you just have to trust Him and His plan, and all things are going to work for His good, and just be thankful for the blessings that you have, however big or small they are, and he's a huge blessing.
I got to ask you this: you're quasi-retired. You still do this with us and sell some ranches for Shipley Ranches. I want to get a mention in there for you on that. You got any plans this summer to go on any vacations? You always go to Cabo or something. What's Coach Shipley doing this summer for his family vacay?
Yeah, I know. I've been to Cabo the last 3 years in a row, and honestly, I'm not a Cabo fan.
Oh wow! Okay.
No, I have a I have a friend that's been very successful in life, and he's a part of this executive travel deal, and you can pick anywhere. Well, he loves to go to Cabo, and so the house we get is free. We just have to pay for our flight and our food, and I can't turn that down. But when I'm going to the ocean, I want to get in the water.
Me too.
I
Same.
don't understand, and I don't take my golf clubs with me or anything. They got some great courses out there, but it's hard enough to get my suitcase and everything going. I can't worry about golf clubs and yeah, I want to go to somewhere. You just can't get in the water there. There's a few places maybe you can get in, but the undertow is horrible. There's rocks everywhere, and so you sit around the pool all day, and look at the ocean, and that's just not my thing. But
you want to go dive in the waves, is what you're saying?
Yeah. I love snorkeling from the shore. I'm not a deep snorkel guy. I think a shark would look at me and say, "That's a pretty good marbled human right there." I think I'm going to have me some of that. So I like snorkeling from the shore, just a reef out there, not too far off the shore. But listen, man, we bought a house next door to us in August of 24, and we did a total remodel on. I mean, the old saying, "Should have just tore it down." Yeah, we probably should have. But anyway, so we're double over budget on it, and are about 3.5 weeks away from moving in. And so I'll have my office, and I won't be in a bedroom upstairs anymore. I'll have my office studio set up, and I can't afford to go anywhere. Can't hardly afford to go to the grocery store right now, much less Cabo. But no trips. Last summer I had a great trip to Alaska. Another friend of mine who's been very successful took us out to a place that is Enchanted Lake Lodge in Alaska, and it was unbelievable. So, but no trips. It's almost a throwback to when my kids were growing up, living on a single income coach's budget, and you're lucky if you get to go to SeaWorld or Six Flags. That was about the extent of our vacations.
Love it.
So I've had to tighten up the purse strings a little bit this summer.
Hey, so I wasn't really going to ask Coach a question. I was going to kind of make a comment here for all you guys. So all the guys that came in from the portal to Texas, they all wanted to be, and not that Cam Coleman was already in the SEC, but he was on a team that hadn't been in the bowl game. They all wanted to be on a really good team at the highest level of college football, in the arena, so to speak. Well, all those guys that transferred in, here you go. This is what it's like. Texas Tech fighting, all the attention and all the hate and all the love, the 50-50 that the University of Texas gets. These guys are welcome to the arena. You have arrived. Now summer workouts start, because these guys are on social media. They see it all. This is what these guys came to Texas for. NIL, yes, but to play at the highest level, have a chance to win, play on one of those teams that's always talked about, what you always dream about, right? Welcome to the arena for the portal transfers. Here you go. That's what I was going to say, because this week kind of is the start of it for me. Not the way you thought it would be, but all right, guys, this is what you want. Here you go. Because they see it all on social media. They see the attention Texas is getting right now.
Yeah. It's it is a giant machine that, as Bobby so aptly put it last night on the live stream, Texas has a lot of really I don't remember, how did you put it, Bobby? A lot of really great, smart people, and it has always had that and will always have that, running an ethical machine, an institution that will always be premier and doesn't have to take the carnival route to be relevant, and I think I think legitimate players, not legitimate players, but players that care about their education, that care about their connections and the relationships they make at a university. All those things now, they're seeing all that stuff now, and will continue to see it the rest of their lives, because of the university, the power, the name of the university has, and hopefully more championships to come.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully more championships come starting in 2026.
Yeah.
Coach, thank you so much, bud. If you get a chance, tell Jordan Jackson hello.
I'll do it.
And very happy about Jordan. That's awesome to hear, man.
Yeah.
And enjoy your summer. Enjoy your summer trip to your next door neighbor house in Abilene.
Yeah. Well, I do have a nice pool back there, and I will have, maybe a big screen out there with the ocean. That's going to be as close to the ocean.
You're
on my frame TV, by the way.
I was going to say it's going to be a screensaver with the ocean.
Yeah, it's going to be a screensaver. That's as close as I'm getting to the ocean. All right, you guys have a good one. Take
care. I love it. I love that. I love the screensavers they have on TVs now. You just switch them, change them around. One day you're feeling, introspective, and you got, planet Earth from like 1 million miles away. And the next one you're like, oh, let's see some guys that are out, skateboarding on a loop or something. Anyways, it's crazy. Love it. Coach had a good take on that, and his opinion on Joey McGuire. I know we have get to an ad read, but his opinion on Joey McGuire resonates with me because I do think Joey McGuire has been a puppet for Cody Campbell, largely. I don't think he started out that way per se, but that's what it's evolved into. And I do think it's WWE, and for a guy who has helped so many high school players throughout his career to then turn face 30 years into that career and say, oh no, gambling is okay, or
on your team.
No, I'm going to play an injured quarterback earlier than I should because I get a chance to play you. And that's the latest one that he said yesterday. I just like, it's just totally, it's just bizarre talk. And you're telling and showing kids, all of those kids that you worked with for those years before, you're going back on your word. So what was that worth? Anyways, that's the disappointing part for me.
Yeah.
It's not the WWE. I can deal with, all I have to do on that stuff is change the channel, if I don't like it. But when he starts doing stuff like this, and I think hits at the fabric of the game, it tells those kids from 25 years ago, oh, it is actually okay. I was just, From Jerry Maguire to Joey Maguire, Marco Mendez says, show me the money.
Bobby, I 100% agree. And that's kind of been that's what I've been getting at is it's like, look, man, I think yesterday was an embarrassment to the coaching profession, and that's my opinion, and people can disagree with it, and that's fine. But I grew up with it. My dad coached 38 years, and I grew up where Joey McGuire grew up, where Bob Shipley was for years. And what was said yesterday, I've literally never heard said by a coach at any level. Think about what Coach Shipley just came out and said. It's the one no. That's what I said. It's the one no. He embarrassed his profession yesterday, in my opinion. It's
not just yesterday. It's been continual is the problem.
But they hadn't come out and publicly. What I asked for is, take your position. They hadn't publicly come out and put it in words until this week. Joey put it in words yesterday for the first time. He did. He declared yesterday.
Yeah, it's. I'm thinking about something right now that I think is germane to the conversation as it relates to Cody Campbell. I mean, who do you think is paying the retainer fee for Jeffrey Kessler, the lawyer that's representing Brennan Sorsby? Do you think that's Brennan Sorsby forking over a six-figure retainer? Yeah. Or do you think that's someone else? Yeah. I don't know. I that's how deep it's gone, and it's disconcerting for those of us who like sports, not just college football, who like sport. Betting on your own team, that's a 3-game suspension. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Yeah. Oh, but he was a gambling addict. It's okay. That doesn't absolve you. And there's a high level of recidivism, by the way, and if you're a gambler. So, anyways, that's it. All right, Blake, now you can do your ad read, my man. Now you can do it. We stopped the pontificating there long enough.
All right, well, we're going to move on to Prize Picks. How about that? We're about to be in the dog days of summer. Everything's rolling. Basketball playoffs are red hot. Baseball's in full swing. There's a lot of sports action going on, but Prize Picks, they add a lot more fun to your favorite sports. Now every possession matters. Every at-bat matters. You're locked in from start to finish. You're not just watching it anymore. You got a little juice in it, and it's so easy. You just pick more or less on player stats. You build your lineup, you submit it, and you're good to go. Takes maybe a minute. And, of course, you can go across any sport as well, basketball, baseball, hockey, golf, whatever's on, it fits. Today, though, we are going to jump into some baseball action. We got Braves pitcher Grant Holmes to have more than 3.5 strikeouts. He actually had 10 his last game, and he's averaging 5.4 on the season, so we like that one. And we're going to take Max Meyer to have more than 4.5 strikeouts, as he's been averaging over 7 his last 5. We're trusting our gut, and that's exactly what you do on Prize Picks. You make your picks, you lock it in, and now every single moment actually means something. Prize Picks is available in all 50 states, including right here in Texas. So if you haven't jumped in yet, now's the time. Download the app. Use code HMA. Play $5. They're going to give you $50 in lineups instantly. Code HMA. 5 gets you 50. It's as simple as that. And as always, play smart, play responsibly, play Prize Picks. I want to thank them for sponsoring. And speaking of baseball here, we're in just less than 3 hours. The Austin Regional will begin there for Texas as they take on the Holy Cross Crusaders. That game will be on the SEC network beginning at 12 p.m. Central. And then the other 2 teams will square off, Tarleton State and UC Santa Barbara at 5 o'clock as well. And Luke Harrison, we said yesterday on Coffee and Football, Luke Harrison getting the start for the Longhorns, and Jaden, I hope I'm saying this correctly, Jaden Waiwoda, he's a senior with a 3.76 ERA. And guys, last week in their conference tournament, that Monday, he threw 122 pitches. 2 days later, they bring him in for the save, and he throws 74 more. So he threw nearly 200 pitches in about 48 hours. So obviously a very durable arm.
Nolan Ryan would say, kick that left leg high and bring it. That's what Nolan Ryan would say to him.
That dude
left leg high and bring it, baby. That's sad. Look, if Texas and UC Santa Barbara handle their business today, that pitching matchup tomorrow is about as good as it'll get for any regional in college.
Must see TV.
Yes. And Santa Barbara's kind of rolling the dice a little bit on.
Yeah, because Tarleton State's actually a pesky team. I would say this, Blake. I'm headed out there actually. I think I'm going to meet up with CJ a little bit later. At the Dish for the game. The thought process that I have right now for Texas is they've got 3 starters, right? Essentially.
Yep.
Do they have the pitching depth, in your opinion, to go deep? Because that seems to be the $1 million question with this team. Are any young arms starting to perform later in the season that they like? Anything like that?
I think that's a loaded question. I think that if you can get enough out of your main three, then yes. Now, if one of them has a bad day right off the bat and you're pulling them early, then that's where I start to get a little worried. But if you can just get something, just a few, maybe 4 innings out of those main three, and they're serviceable. They don't even have to be elite. Then I think they'll be okay in this format. Now, we'll see. I mean, you just never know. You might get a guy in there and he goes 1 inning and off the rails, and you walk the bases full, and so it's hard to say. But I do think if they can just get enough, like I said, 3-4 innings out of those main three, then they should be fine. I really do, especially guys like Cozart, Crossland, and I think they'll be all right. I truly do. So we'll see.
I'm ready for it. Gonna enjoy a little baseball today.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And then, of course, if they take care of business, they'll next weekend match up in the Super Regional against the Oregon Eugene Regional. So that'll probably be Oregon or Oregon State. I actually picked Oregon State to win that one in my pick 'em. We'll see what happens. But and I haven't updated the bracket, but Texas softball loses last night, guys, 6-3 against Tennessee. They square off against Mississippi State today at 6 p.m. That game on ESPN. But Mike White and his crew just couldn't get it going, and that sets up a Tennessee versus Texas Tech matchup, and then a Texas versus Mississippi State. And then if you didn't stay up late last night and watch Arkansas and Nebraska, you missed a heck of a game. They went, I think, 10 innings in all. It was 3-3 for the longest, and then a walk-off home run seals the deal. Nebraska advances. Arkansas moves to the losers bracket. So that was a pretty exciting one to close the night out yesterday.
And hopefully we get back on a winning streak here.
Yeah, and obviously after the loss yesterday, the next loss ends your season. You have to win out from here.
Yep.
I mean,
up against the wall going forward. So I do like Texas' chances against Mississippi State. I really do. I thought they would come in a little bit hotter, but they didn't. So we'll see. All right, let's see here.
Can we hit some recruiting? Because I do want to hit.
We got some questions about recruiting. A lot of this Easton Royal going on his LSU official visit. Jerry, a lot of people worried about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, anything can happen in the NIL era. We say this all the time. I believe, and I've been of the belief for a while, since going down to Easton Royal School for a couple of times, that it's Texas, Florida, then LSU. And everybody else is on the peripheral. Tennessee gets an OV next weekend. Then he goes to Florida. Then he goes to Texas. We'll see. I mean, look, there's a lot of pressure on Lane Kiffin and LSU in this recruitment. There really is. And I think they know they're working from behind headed into this weekend. So that's where I come out on it. I think Texas is in a really good spot for Eastern Roll. Does that mean it's done? It's never done nowadays till these guys get on campus. I mean, even if Eastern Roll goes through this visit process and he comes out and says, "Yep, it's Texas for me," does that mean LSU's not going to recruit him during the season? No. So I think this is the first part. The first part was getting him committed. Now we're in the second part of this Eastern Royal recruitment, keeping him committed, which I feel good about. And then the third part will be signing him. So I think this is a month's process. LSU, obviously, it's all going to be positive coming out of these visit weekends. When's the last time something really negative came out of visit weekends? If it does, then that's pretty much LSU saying we're out. I mean, that's pretty much if people that cover LSU come out here saying, we feel Texas is still in a good spot, then they're pretty much saying they're out, Bobby, for now. I mean, because if you can't make a dent this weekend, then when's your dent going to be made?
And I do think there's actually some news that came out of this past week as it relates to Easton Royal. And that is that apparently he is going to be represented by David Mulugeta, the agent. David Mulugeta graduated from Texas, but he has stars across the pantheon as an agent. I mean, he is a legitimate big-time agent. He was Cam Coleman's agent. He's Ryan Wingo's agent, Colin Simmons' agent, Anthony Hills, I believe. Or no, I don't know if he's Anthony Hills. My point is
Marcus Makato.
Yeah, Marcus. There are a number of players who are he's the agent of. Easton Royal going with David Mulugeta as his agent. I don't think it makes it Texas, and he'll stick with Texas because of that. But Texas has a good relationship. Brandon Harris, Steve Sarkisian have a good relationship there with that agent and agency. And I think that will help things when it gets to the brass tacks. I definitely think it did with Cam Coleman, for example, the pre-existing relationship that they had with the agency. So that is news that happened this week as it relates to Eastern Royal. But Jerry, he's not the only one that's visiting elsewhere this week.
Most of Texas top targets are somewhere this weekend. This is the big first official visit weekend of the next four, right? So you have Fakato's at Ohio State. I believe that is Ohio State, Texas top two. Notre Dame's in it. They're going to get an OV. He goes to Georgia after Ohio State. We talked about that on some recruiting breakdown shows. A&M, John Meredith. There's already been pictures of Meredith there, and they have all their top DBs there committed there this weekend. It's Texas A&M's big OV weekend. The linebacker from Don Bosco Prep in New Jersey, Allen, who I believe is maybe Texas A&M or top two. Brandon Sherrard listed as a corner. Some schools like him as a safety, Texas being one of those. You see Monshun Sales, who's originally from Alabama, is visiting Alabama, top D-line target. One of the top T-line targets, Mitchell Turner out of Louisville, Mississippi, who I went and saw a few weeks ago. He's at Bama this weekend. They've been the leader in that recruitment for a while, and I think Texas and LSU have shots there. Brian Swanson, who I think Texas has had a big lead for a long time. The first offensive lineman Texas offered in the cycle is at Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma and SMU are the contenders for Texas. I know there's 8 schools on the list, but I really think it's Oklahoma, SMU competing against Texas here, and Texas has a big lead. Oregon has 4 guys that Texas would take commitments from. Junior Tuopo, we hit on him on a recruiting show yesterday. Jordan Scruggs and myself have heard the same thing from 2 different sources, that Texas may be the slight leader there going into the official visit process. And we think Alabama's second. There's some connections to the Tongvailoa family there. So we'll see where it goes. So it's Toa Satele's a sleeper good recruitment because Tosh Lupoy is involved at Cal. And for those that haven't followed Tosh Lupoy's history in recruiting, Cal's a threat now with him being the head coach at Cal. They're going to be a threat on some of these bigger recruitments. So if you see Cal, it's not the old Cal where it's just Cal. No, this is Tosh Lupoy Cal. So they're going to be involved in recruitments. Then you look at Auburn, Jabarius Guerra, who I think is Texas' top pass rushing target that is going to OV to Texas. He's at Auburn. Jaden Nelson, the Texas Tech commits at Auburn. He's more open than people think, but that doesn't mean he's going to flip. Georgia has 2. I think Joakim Gouda, the linebacker, the inside linebacker, is definitely a Georgia lean. Will Muschamp went out there. Johnny Nansen went out there in the spring. They had him on campus twice. I still would lean Georgia there. Cassie Curry, which is a total wild card recruitment, but some people do believe that Ohio State and Texas are the top 2 there. Same with Marcus Fakato. Obviously, they're now teammates at Sierra Canyon. And then you have some other guys involved there too that are on OVs this weekend. So a lot of Texas targets are out on OVs. We have a thread on ontexasfootball.com. We're going to be keeping up, all of us, whether it's Hank, whether it's myself, whether it's Jordan or CJ. If we hear something on these guys after those visits, we'll be posting that at ontexasfootball.com. And, of course, next weekend begins Texas OVs. So we got a month rush here, and then we're going to have some real clarity on where this Texas class is headed. And then also Sunday will be the underclassmen elite camp, which the thing to watch there. There'll be some offers go out on some younger kids, 28 and 29s. The thing to watch there is Neiman Lawrence, the quarterback at American Heritage, formerly of Miami Northwestern's. Texas is number 1 quarterback target currently in 2028. Only 3 have offers. One's committed to Georgia. Lawrence is the top guy. He is scheduled to be in Austin. And then there'll be a few other quarterbacks there competing for an offer, throwing in front of Steve Sarkisian, because Sark can't get out on the road. Head coaches can't get out on the road in the spring. It's A.J. Milwee going out to watch these guys and then coming back to Sark and saying, all right, these are the guys we need to get here so you can watch throw in person. You can get to know But Neiman Lawrence will be in town this weekend. He's the top quarterback target in 2028 currently.
That's good. Hey, Jerry, so basically this weekend, it's about recruits elsewhere, the 2027 class elsewhere, as well as some guys coming to campus to work out that are underclassmen. Now, there may be a couple of 27s that actually work out that don't have offers yet. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate that Texas may have liked out in the spring, but Sark's never seen. The whole staff maybe hasn't seen. The area recruiter's gone out and seen that guy. There will be 2 or 3 guys pop in this weekend and work out with hopes of getting that Texas offer. And Texas wanting to be sure on some of these guys as they make decisions. And that's kind of what we said, Bobby. The evaluation process wasn't complete in junior days,
right?
In January. The evaluation process will continue through senior year. There'll be kids pop up like these that are coming in to compete for a Texas offer Sunday that are in the 27 class. There's going to be guys as seniors that are going to pop up that Texas is watching that may end up being offers. So this process with this class, I think, is going to go all the way till late November.
Hey, Jerry, I got to ask you the question from Dave Atchley. I think we've dealt with it before, but Jerry, Reed Ramsire canceled his OV to Clemson, and his selection is down to Auburn or Texas. Do you like Texas's chances? Ramsire is the offensive lineman out of the state of Florida that Kyle Flood went to see. Jerry, you've seen him in person. Clemson being out of the mix definitely takes us down to just Texas and Auburn. What is the situation as it relates to Reed Ramsire right now?
Yeah, that was not a surprise. When I was there, 3 weeks ago now, I left there and I'd reported that on OTF.com, probably on the videos somewhere, that I really thought Texas or Auburn was where that decision was going to come down to. And I also walked away thinking Texas was the leader. Now, what does that mean in the NIL day and age? It may mean nothing, but I think going into the OVs, which is Auburn next weekend, Texas the 12th through 14th, he moved those OVs up a week. I think he's ready to get this process over by mid-June.
Sounds like, yeah. I mean, yeah, it sounds like ready to go.
Yeah, because when I talked to him at First Academy there 3 weeks ago, Clemson was like barely mentioned. So he gave off that feeling like, man, I don't want this to carry on into mid-July, late July, anything like that. So I think and I said this on a recruiting video, Ramsire's done as good a job or as impressive a job to me and a kid I've interviewed in a while of really truly digging in and spending hours doing his homework on the O-line coaches, the head coaches, the schools, the schemes. Like, this guy's way advanced in his process. What'll be always the unpredictable, Bobby, is the NIL component. And is there going to be a big difference between the two schools? And we don't know that yet. But I do think if you told me to make a pick right now, I would say Texas is number one in Ramsire's mind headed into the OVs.
I would just say this as it relates to NIL and some of these offensive linemen in particular. I think it's going to come down a lot to slotting, NIL slotting, wherever they may fall in the range, right? Because if Auburn has somebody significantly higher than Texas, or Texas has somebody significantly higher than them, I think it's going to come down to slotting, NIL slotting.
Yeah.
And if they have them the same, then who does he like?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the thing that we're seeing more and more in college football. When you say it's an NIL decision, it's not just who's going to pay the most. It's where does each team have them slotted, because they're all dealing with the relatively same amount of money. And so if you have one guy slotted at 1.5 million and another guy slotted at 500,000 or 250 or whatever, and you have them in two different slots, that's game-changing money. And that's when it is an NIL decision. But if they're both slotted the same for both teams, then it's a choice of who do you like better, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that without knowledge of where Auburn slots Reed Ramsire, it's hard to say what the young man's going to do. All right. Hey, Blake.
Yes, sir.
What do we got next, my man?
Well, I tell you what, I need you to tell everyone this morning about South Point Dodge one more time.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing like Texas football, and nothing runs like a Ram. South Point Dodge is Austin's Ram headquarters. Huge savings on Ram trucks and Jeep SUVs. They've got deals that are hotter than a Saturday and DKR, plus exclusive perks for On Texas football listeners. 90 days to make your first payment, and we'll ship your new ride anywhere in the state of Texas or beyond. More than 600 vehicles in stock. So whether you need a workhorse or a weekend warrior, we've got you covered. Visit southpointdodge.com or come see us off I-35 in South Austin. Get to the point at South Point Dodge. When they said weekend warrior in that ad read, I immediately thought of that pitcher that 200 pitches. But no, this is about Dodge, Ram, SUVs, Jeep, Wranglers, all at southpointdodge.com.
And I'm going to tell everyone about our other sponsor today. That's Delete Me. Have you ever Googled yourself and you're like, whoa, why is all that out there? Your phone number, your old addresses, family members, places you've lived. It's kind of unsettling. And with scammers, stalkers, hackers making it easier than ever to use that info against people, this is one of those things that we all probably should have taken care of yesterday. So here's what you do. You go to joindeleteme.com/TXFootball and then enter code TXFootball. You'll get 20% off Delete Me. And Delete Me removes your personal information that's being sold online. As for me, with what I do online every day, privacy matters. I don't want my personal info or my family's info just sitting out there on data broker sites. Delete Me does the hard work to help you remove your personal information from hundreds of those sites. And they were even named Wirecutter's top pick for data removal services. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/TXFootball and use promo code TXFootball at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/TXFootball and enter code TXFootball at checkout. One more time, joindeleteme.com/TXFootball, code TXFootball. All right, we got a couple of super chats. Producer Matt in the chat.
No, producer Matt, what's he saying?
We're saying delete Blake.
Delete.
That's fine. You can come produce coffee and football every morning. You wake up early. Come do it, Matt. Rocky P says, how much is the Cody Campbell check that people like Feinbaum are cashing to back the Tech narrative for Sorsby to be suspended 3 games?
Knowing Paul, he doesn't do that. I think he just does it to be a carnival barker himself. And he is the SEC's chief carnival barker. The difference with the SEC and Texas Tech, the media in the SEC are the carnival barkers. The chairman of the Board of Regents is the carnival barker over at Tech. That's the difference between those two places. But no, I mean, I think that even Paul Feinbaum, and I told Paul this when I saw him I saw Paul and talked to him briefly at the reception on Tuesday at the SEC reception. And I basically told him I thought that was BS. And Paul's a good guy. I really believe you just need to take him for what he is. At one point, what I really bemoaned with him was, where is college football going if you really love this sport? And, that's fair game. He said they've done it to themselves, which is true. So Paul's an entertainer, really good one.
Yeah, I mean, look though, if we get to the point where betting on your own team and admitting it gets you a 3-game suspension, time to go play putt golf, man.
Yeah,
go play pickleball. That's a joke.
Frisbee golf or whatever it is. Frisbee golf's the old man sport that even is
I don't want to run that much.
Yeah, Frisbee golf. No, Frisbee golf you don't run. You walk a golf course basically.
Yeah.
Not the Frisbee football. So.
Yeah, but you're too competitive. Just walk them frisbee golf. You're gonna, it's like, nah.
Okay.
I couldn't do that. I'm not going to have a 5-hour frisbee golf round.
You just walked like 25 miles, you said, or bike 25 miles in Jupiter, Florida, and you still have a suntan from it. I just spent a week in Destin, Florida, and I can't get any kind of tan because I was inside the whole time. It was raining.
Hey, by the way, pickleball's the most non-friendly sport out there. If you like pickleball, by the way, and I just started swinging that racket recently. If you like pickleball, go watch the video on X of Andre Agassi playing pickleball. Oh my gosh. The precision he was playing with was ridiculous in pickleball. That was scary for anybody that wants to be competitive in pickleball. By the way, Bobby, in chat, the top 2 earners in pickleball, pro pickleball, $3 million. That's where that's going. It's now being televised. College pickleball teams are not that far away, is my prediction.
Never know. Katie 35, I'm the best. Jerry, what's up with Jeremiah Culpepper in Texas?
Culpepper visited Texas in April. I think Texas just kind of gone a different direction is what's happened.
Good player.
Yeah, good prospect. A lot of upside.
Yeah, he's a linebacker out of Georgia. Is he going to end up at Georgia, you think?
Auburn's really on him. Auburn's on him. I'm not sure how big a push Georgia's making. Auburn's really on him. Alabama's on him as well. But I think
there were 3 guys at Auburn this weekend that Texas is recruiting. It's interesting to see how Alex Golish, the new head coach there, fares in recruiting compared to how Hugh Freeze that didn't do much at all.
Yeah, Alex has a head start on defensive players because he kept Durkin, who had been recruiting a lot of those guys for a while. That's one thing he did that I think is helping him on the defensive side is that Durkin has had some relationships with some of those guys for over a year. So that may help him a little bit defensively in some ways. But it still comes down to obviously Galesh and NIL and all that good stuff. But Durkin helps him out of the gate.
Then we got one other super chat this morning here from J.A. Gabriel. 12, late to the party, but any updates on Coach Vic and women's basketball? The only thing that I got that I can add is they feel very good about this freshman class coming in. They are very, very high on the incoming freshmen.
I watched those girls playing national all-star games, and I am too. I think they got some really hot 3 high-level players that I've watched in the all-star games. I think that – and Vic's comments at SEC spring meetings, there's been a lot of questions and comments about that. I mean, look, my opinion's pretty much – it may be different than some other people's. The guy's been to 4 Final Fours, played for a national championship, has been to 8 other Elite Eights. He should not change who he is. He should not change who he's had too much success as a coach. And if some people are getting a little soft, then he's got to recruit people that fit.
I was there at that media scrum that Vic held in Destin, and he is clearly grieving that loss still. He is hurt by it. I mean, I think he thought he was going to win a national championship. That's what it felt like to me listening to him. God, he really thought he was going to win it all. And he was on the cusp of it. He talked about how do you hold UCLA to 47 points and lose? You know, his goal each and every conference game is to hold somebody below 60. He held them to 47 and lost. After he got past that grieving conversation, we got into this year's team, Jerry and Blake. And what Vic discussed is, he's got somebody in Maddie Booker that not many other teams have somebody even similar there. So he has that adult in the room that is a superstar or a potential superstar, right? And he feels like what he likes about this team right now actually is that all of these young people that he thinks, three or four of them have, I'm not saying first team All-American ability, but first, second, third team All-American ability. He thinks that this class is that good long term. I'm not saying out of the gate, right? He loves that that group of five are going to be able to witness Maddie Booker and her work ethic. First in the gym, last to leave. Works on the jump shot. You know what I mean? There's a little something in him, I think, that believes that it may not be 2026, but if he can keep this nucleus of recruits after watching Maddie Booker for a year, they have a chance to pull something off long term. So it was interesting watching him because it really did feel like he was still grieving the loss to UCLA in the national semifinal.
All right, guys. Before we get out of here, since we won't be on the air Saturday and Sunday in the morning for coffee and football, we got to talk about 98s and 97s real quick. Who's the best to wear 98, 97? Maybe who are y'all's favorites, Bobby and Jerry?
Did Casey Hampton wear both or just one of those?
I don't know. I can't remember. I thought Casey was 64.
He wore 64 at one point. He also wore
98.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brian Arakpo wore 98. Mm-hmm. Tony Brackens wore 98. Moro Ojomo wore 98 most recently, I think. 97. Alex January is 97 currently, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you have for a list there on the list that we did last year, Blake?
Oh gosh,
those two numbers. I'm sure 98 is Arakpo and Brackens, both first round picks and both just absolute monsters off the edge.
I gotta find my list. Give me 1 second.
By the way, I think whoa, what's going on there?
I don't know what happened there.
I think Tony Brackens and Colin Simmons may be the most similar prospects in some ways, and that they are the most natural pass rushers I think I've ever seen at Texas. That athletic, different types of pass rushers in some ways, but good Lord, they were athletic and are athletic in the case of Colin Simmons.
Hey, for the chat, what number did Leonard Davis wear his freshman year at Texas? I think he wore something in the 90s, didn't he not, when he was defensive tackle? Chat, let me know if you'll find that.
So 98 last year we had Tony Brackens and Brian Arakpo, and then 97 we had Franco.
Mm-hmm. Frank Oakham. Yeah. There you go. Oh, now the assistant D-line coach at the Houston Texans.
Yeah. Yep. Somebody asked who wears 99 this year. It's
Richard Wesley.
Yeah, Richard Wesley, who has a chance to be really, really, really good football player.
Yep. So we'll be doing the countdown over on TexasFootball.com and of course over on our social medias as well. So come join us and you can talk a little more in depth about it over there. All right. Well, that's going to be it for this episode of Coffee and Football presented by South Point Dodge. Want to thank them along with Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show and Delete Me as well. Bobby, what's later today?
Got a couple of things going on, Blake, for today. We've got the live stream at 3:00. Jerry, Rod, I think Marcus is going to step in and hang out with the guys for a little bit. May talk a little recruiting. Also, we have that recruiting news and notes going on right now, given all those players visiting elsewhere this weekend and some of the young guys that are going to be on Texas's campus as well. Then check out on TexasFootball.com. Guys, we've never had more participation than we're having right now, and it's been fun. Joey McGuire and Cody Campbell helped us light it up yesterday. Come back for more today. Visit us on the message boards. Talk to like-minded Texas fans or unlike-minded Texas fans that disagree with everybody every so often. Over at OnTexasFootball.com. The message boards are a lot of fun when you're away from this channel. We aim to please over there, and we have everything from team news to recruiting news and everything in between. Make sure you check out the Longhorn baseball game today. Again, they play at noon against Holy Cross at the Dish. I will be over there for a little bit for sure, checking that out.
Yeah. And then if all goes to plan and they win, 6 o'clock tomorrow night. So well, we hope you all have an outstanding weekend. We'll be back on Monday morning. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Hook 'em home.